You're a good person. It's important that I tell you that. This entire podcast is built around an acronym that I made for the word yield. It stands for Yes, I, Envision, Love, Demonstrated. This acronym has helped me a ton in my work, school life, and in pursuing my passions and being able to help other people, as well as growing my habits and becoming a better person. My biggest hope is that this podcast will help you to treat the opportunities and the people in your life differently. Learn to yield today, and it'll be a better tomorrow. What's up, everybody? This is Dallin, Candland, and we are back with Yield Today, episode 13, Bouncing Back from Adversity. Wow. The last week or so has been really crazy. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of last week, I actually lost my voice a little bit. It was weirdo. And then I was able to commentate at a Super Smash Bros. Tournament on Saturday, and my voice was pretty much back, and then I haven't really made time to record this episode until today. So I really want to talk about adversity a little bit. It can come in all sizes, large and small, but it always makes a difference, Sometimes it's you slept in and you have to get to work and you don't really have time to eat breakfast, and yet you don't want to go to work, but you have to because it's your job, Little stuff like that, or it can be something as big as like your grandma passed away, or you failed a class and need to repeat it. These things, they can teach us so much, but they can also crush us. But we can also learn to bounce back from them and become better. This is something that I've really learned a lot in my life, and I've had many opportunities to bounce back from adversity. And who I am today is because of my bounce backs from adversity. It's not because I've lived a perfect life, definitely not, but because I've relied on God's help in bouncing back from adversity when things went wrong and when I messed up. And when things just went crazy, you just keep trusting God. So I want to share 3 quick things that have really helped me out to bounce back from adversity. Number 1 is to take advantage of this opportunity to forge your own path. So there's just so much I could say about this, but basically what I'm getting at is you have the opportunity to change up your direction a little bit and where you're headed, because adversity, usually the kinds I'm talking about, usually gives you time to look back and think about how you're doing and what got you here. It gives you time to think about those kind of things, and you have the opportunity to change, to grow and to live a little bit of a different life and to see things from a slightly different perspective and to learn from it. It's so important. Something I try to emphasize on this podcast is that you are an agent to make things happen. One of the best ways I can say it is with this scripture from the Book of Mormon. It's 2 Nephi chapter 10, verse 20. It says, "And now, my beloved brethren, seeing that our merciful God has given us so great knowledge concerning these things, let us remember him and lay aside our sins and not hang down our heads, for we are not cast off. Nevertheless, we have been driven out of the land of our inheritance, but we've been led to a better land, for the Lord has made the sea our path, and we are upon an isle of the sea." So for Lehi and his family in the Book of Mormon, they were asked to leave their home behind and to go on a journey and to have hope to be able to obtain a promised land that had been prepared for them. And they had to trust that God was going to help them out all along the way. And for me, like when this happens, when these kind of things happen, it's kind of like God saying, hey, I am aware of you and I need you to trust me for a little bit. I want you to learn something from this. There's so many opportunities to learn and grow. And sometimes it's hard to say, but that's really one of the best ways to learn, is to go through something. And on the other side, you're always so humbled. Looking back, I got to read one of my journals last night about when I was in IBC and how it was really hard and how I made some mistakes. I completely had forgotten about this one assignment, and then I put it off until only had 2 hours left, and then I had to just suffer with thinking, man, I think I might have failed this class, or I might have failed this portion of the class, so I could have failed the whole class. And I mean, fast forward to now, it was okay, But in that moment, I decided, hey, it's gonna be different. I'm gonna change the outcome. There's so many people who don't let their circumstances define them, but they choose to create a life for themselves. They choose to forge their own path. There's so many inspiring stories of people who, after they go through something difficult, they like start a society so they can help out other people who will go through that same thing later on. And so they used that struggle to propel them to a new path, a new way of life. They chose to use that struggle as a trampoline rather than I guess a safety net where they could just hang out and just chill, you know. But the thing that I really like about this is that you have to be patient, you know. In time, those things they will work out for you. I like to say that it doesn't really matter why these things happen to you, but what's important is knowing why you're going to keep going, why you're going to keep believing and keep trying. When I was on my mission, it was really difficult for me some days, and I will tell you that the reason I stayed on my mission is not the same reason why I left. You know, there were so many people that I could help with God's help, and he was forging a path for me through all my struggles. He was making all of my struggles a path for me, so when I got home, I could learn a lot and I could take other steps of faith to keep going in life and keep growing. And this podcast exists and it's still going because of all the different setbacks I've had and because of all the opportunities I've had to grow from those setbacks and to change the future, really, and to change how the future looks. I think another big reason why this is the case is because when adversity hits you hard, you usually have to change up your routine a little bit. So you can throw in more gratitude, you can throw in more journal writing and more praying. And so these things they all add up, and they can help you to get out of your struggle. They can help you to forge your own path, but you need to remember that God's going to be helping you out. I've gotten laid off from a job out of nowhere twice. You know, I lost my voice a couple days ago. That was rough. And I haven't had a ton of struggles, honestly, in comparison with some people. But I have learned over and over and over again, there's always a new opportunity with a struggle. So take advantage of that opportunity and forge your own path so you're stronger when you're out of it. Number 2 is to get excited about all the new benefits. Like when you're sick, if you're at home, then your mom will hopefully make you some soup or something. I mean, that's a big benefit. Also, a kind of humbling thought for me while I was preparing for this episode is that when you're going through something difficult, it gives you something you can pray for every single day. And for me, specific prayers have always led to more specific answers. There's a really cool video that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints came out called Daily Bread Experience, and it was from one of the 12 apostles, Elder Christofferson, and he was talking about prayer, and he was talking about this investment he made in this company and this small business, and then it started to really fail a lot, and it needed more and more money. And he's like, and then it became an economic threat, and it was becoming a threat to his livelihood, and this was a big trial for him. And that trial ended up becoming a trail to his progress, as my friend Tyler Polisky on the mission would say. Love you, Tyler. Elder Christofferson said, in those moments, one truly learns how to pray. And he talked about how, you know, it's so difficult sometimes, but you have to be willing to accept the little bit of daily bread that you get for the day, the help you need just to get through one more day. He started looking for that. He started living for that. And eventually he was able to get out of it, and he's doing pretty well right now. You know, he put his life in God's hands, and God can do much more with our lives than we can. And so that was a big benefit for Elder Christofferson, was that he was able to pray. He had something he could specifically pray for. And then he was able to tell the story later on. He was able to tell the tale. It's a wonderful thing when you're able to tell somebody about how you overcame setbacks or how you defied the odds and changed. There's so many millions and millions and millions of views on YouTube and in other media outlets from people who responded to setbacks the right way and they changed. Another overlying thought that came from this episode is that the best people in the world are usually the best at responding to setbacks. I've been rewatching the Harry Potter movies again, and I've been taking notes because I'm crazy and I like taking notes about pretty much anything. Like if I'm reading a book or if I'm talking to people, I'm usually like taking notes or I'll write down something I got from it. But Harry had so many reasons to be upset with his circumstances. His parents died when he was a baby, yada, 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 etc. But he still wanted to help other people out, and he also wanted to use his talents for good, and he wanted to make a difference, and he wanted to make the most of his situation. He didn't define himself by his setbacks. He bounced back from the setbacks. After his godfather Sirius Black died, Harry just used that to push forward and to make the most of that, make the most of the time that he had left, and to be grateful for the life that he still had. And to just keep going, to rely on his friends a little bit more, to rely on his training a little bit more, to rely on his professors just a little bit more. And he was able to grow a lot more and help a lot of people. And he also went into the creator mindset and started the Dumbledore's Army Club. And so he was able to help empower a lot of other students. All of this while he was going through his own struggles. And so he just didn't focus on those struggles. He moved on, and he worked hard and made it work out. And I've seen in my life that there's always a lot of benefits from a struggle. And every moment of life, you're going through different things, you're learning different things, you have different focuses, you have different things you're trying to work on. I'm working on different stuff right now than I was working on 6 months ago for the most part. And that is just crazy to me. But little by little, God is helping me to overcome all of those struggles, all of those mountains, and turn them into victories and personal victories. It starts with a private victory, and then eventually it'll turn into a public victory. I think it says that in The Magic of Thinking Big. Awesome book. My final tip. So the first one is to take advantage of your opportunity to forge your own path. 2 is to get excited about the new benefits, like Harry Potter. And 3 is to make and build your support system. This is a perfect time for you to find out how strong your support system is. You can reach out to people. Harry did a great job of reaching out to his professors and being like, hey, I don't really know exactly what's going on, but I consider you a friend, and so I'm going to need your help. And epic things happened. Also, just make sure you show gratitude as well, because God is looking out for you, and for me, he's been my biggest support. 2 Nephi 4:20 says, My God hath been my support. He hath led me through mine afflictions in the wilderness, and he hath preserved me upon the waters of the great deep. So this is Nephi, the son of Lehi, who we talked about earlier, talking about his struggles, and he was thankful for these struggles, although in some moments it was really hard to handle. He had some pretty rebellious older brothers that wanted to kill him. I mean, that's pretty big. That's not fun at all. And Nephi chose to look to God when things were difficult and when he was struggling with himself. He looked to God and found his support. And you can always find support from God. You can use your support system to learn different things. You may have to get a little bit creative to reach out to them depending on what your struggle is. I was mostly just texting people during that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday when I couldn't really speak, because I had to be very careful with how I used my voice. I had to cancel a podcast interview because I was not able to talk. And talking is crazy. I love talking, and literally my voice is one of the most valuable things to me right now, because I couldn't really talk to people on campus. I couldn't reach out to random people on campus. I couldn't record this podcast. It was kind of harder to speak up in class and everything. It was just difficult. And I also felt a little sick, so I didn't really want to reach out to people as much, because I was like, I don't know. I still did a little bit. And I don't think I had a fever at all. I just had this little, virus or something. But anyway, let's get back to the time at hand. One thing that's amazing to me is how God empowers us to change our circumstances. And yes, I'm talking about building your support system, but I'm also talking about building yourself a support system that can support you, obviously. When I was doing YouTube, I subscribed to all my church's YouTube channels and some other channels that I thought were going to help me out, in my journey. And they have been. They have been a help on my journey, and they've helped me become better. I'm continually trying to work on my habits so that I can get stuff done, like writing in my book. I wrote 4,000 words in my book yesterday, which was a big victory, but you gotta keep that going. This podcast for me is a support system. There are people that are very thankful that I started this podcast. And even though now it can be kind of difficult to record these episodes, overall, I do feel a lot better after I record them. And I feel like they're making a difference for people. A lot of times, one of the best ways to get out of a struggle is just to pray and ask God, hey, what's one thing that I can do better today? What's one thing that I can change? And that is repentance. But over time, that makes such a big difference. Or if you want to just push it back to, if you want to just bring it back to yourself, you can ask yourself the question that I read that honestly helped me a lot. I read this from one of the email newsletters I get, I think. But it basically said, like, what can I do to make my day? But kind of like you thinking about yourself, what can I do for you to make your day? And then you do that thing. Whatever it is, you just go for it. In short, when you're going through a struggle, you need to take advantage of the opportunity to make your own path, show gratitude all along the way, get excited about the new benefits, write about them in your journal. What are you learning from this experience that you'll never be able to have again? There are things like that if you look deeply enough. You might have to dig a little bit, but they're there. Number 3 is just always make sure you're building your support system, because after this struggle you're going through, you'll be able to continue to build it. And maybe once you get back to your normal life, you'll be so much stronger. Maybe life won't be as normal, but maybe you'll be so much stronger because of what you learned from your support system during that time. And this time will be a time of strength that you can look back to and be like, man, I don't know how I made it through that, but wow, that was good. And I'm thankful that I went through that. I want to close real fast with something that Tyler Polisky said while we were serving our missions. He was one of the missionaries in the area that I was serving, and he shared something that really impacted me about how it can either be a trial where you put yourself before the atonement of Jesus Christ and what he can do for you, or it can be a trail where you put the atonement of Jesus Christ and what he can do for you before yourself. For me, when I've put Christ before myself, when I'm going through a difficult time or just living life, I found that I am on a trail back to my Father in heaven, and that I am learning more, I'm growing more, and I'm becoming a better person. He's helping me to become better along this road, and not to simply exist, but to actually live and to change and to grow and to fail and to succeed and everything else in between. So whatever you're going through right now, just know that God cares about you, and there are a lot of people out there who care about you as well. And of course, I care about you too, and I know you can bounce back from adversity. You make the most of it. Thank you all so much for listening. I really appreciate your help in helping this podcast continue to grow. Please rate it on iTunes and follow it on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I am going to keep this going. It is going to get better. Your support is so appreciated. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you guys next time. Yield today, and it will be a brighter tomorrow.